Nowadays, news travels at the speed of light. Press a button, something gets posted, it goes viral. So what happens if that news includes something derogatory about another person? Does that mean we're allowed to discuss it with others? What if everybody already knows the lashon hara, the negative speech? Does that mean we can discuss it freely? So really, things could be lashon hara even if they're common knowledge. First of all, don't believe everything you read. So before the information is verified, we shouldn't even believe it. Even when a story gets on the front page of the newspaper or goes viral on social media, sometimes there's a correction to that story, but it only appears on page 42 in fine print on the bottom, or it gets sent as a correction on social media that nobody sees. But let's say the story is verified. It's still not proper to discuss it because, let's face it, not everything in life needs to be said. So yeah, maybe it's true. And maybe because everybody knows about it, there may be no real damage being done to the person by repeating it, but it doesn't necessarily warrant discussion. I mean, does it make us or the people around us happier, healthier, or holier? Not really. Now, let's say you have to give over a negative message. It's important. Even then, there are ways that we can lessen the way we repeat it, not make it as explicit, and still communicating the message. And that's something that is more for us than anything else. It's giving us the message that because it's negative speech, it's something we really should be careful on how we express it and give it over. And there's an instructive story in the book of Samuel talking about King Saul, his son Jonathan, and David, who later became King David. And it's actually one of the Haftorah readings as well. Jonathan is concerned that his father, the king, may intend to eliminate David from the kingdom. Therefore, he tells David, go out to the field, and he's going to, in the meantime, assess the king's attitude towards him. He's going to let him know. And they made up a special code to communicate this message. Jonathan, go out to the field, shoot his arrows near where David is, and then tell his attendant to go find those arrows and return them, all within earshot of David. So here's the code. If he says that the arrows are closer in, it means that David is safe around the king. And if he says that the arrows are further away, it means David should flee. In fact, Jonathan's fears were justified. The king wants David's head. And Jonathan tells his attendant that the arrows are further away, indicating that David should flee. And then he sends the attendant home. And then David comes out of hiding. And Jonathan and David share a final emotional farewell before David goes back into hiding. And when you read the story, you're left wondering, why did David and Jonathan need a code? Which seems to be the focus of the story. If Jonathan was able to find David just after the attendant left, why didn't he just approach him to begin with and tell him what the king's intentions were directly? So the lesson is very powerful. Although Jonathan could have told David clearly, my father wants to kill you, he chose not to. He found another way to communicate the message, still getting it across correctly, and avoided verbalizing the negative words, avoiding using his mouth to verbalize such negative words. So I think that's a lesson for all of us as well. And here's your daily to-do. Find an opportunity to express restraint. Refrain from saying something that can and should be left out. I'm A.D.Motzen, and I'm keeping it clean.